Hello everyone, I'm Polly and today we have the last video of 2024. It's true, a year has passed and I decided to finish off the year bringing back one of my most successful islands of the year, which is Yuka, the last island that I worked on. And I mean, if you've been around for a while, you've been probably watching the process of this island for like the past 2 months. But you know what? I think that videos with the whole process of the island are so fun. I think you guys liked it. At least the last time I did it, you guys really liked it. And this is my first successful attempt at creating an island, like late fall. I've created fall islands before, but it's always early fall when everything's still green and the grass doesn't look this weird yellow and the trees aren't like in this really pretty shades. Actually, the trees are the thing that I like, but I don't know, the grass is weird to me. But this time I was successful at creating a deep fall island. So yes, here's the whole process. And the campsite area, I didn't have a singular speed build for it because it was such a tiny area that I just decided to jump right on it and do the final island tour. So today you'll also be able to see me build the campsite, which is a plus, I guess. And I don't know, I think it's fun to see the work of 2 months compiled in under 2 hours. Don't you think that's a little bit crazy? This is 2 months of work. I don't know, I think it's just kind of fascinating and fun to watch. So I started the island by the left top corner of the island. If you've been around my channel for a while, you probably know that I don't always build my islands or start building my islands from the entrance. And this mountain, acnh mountain, was like the major build on this island. This whole area takes up like at least a fourth of the island, if not more. So I needed to know how much space I would require for this area before I jumped on other areas of the island. So I decided to start from this corner with just a gorgeous lookout area. I'm not great with lookout areas and terraforming, so I got inspired by some posts that I saw on Pinterest and I tried to recreate them. And I really like how this lookout turned out, you know? And I mean, I don't think I ever talked about this, but I wanted to take a moment and kind of explain also the names of the things in my island. So, Kaede Mountain, I decided that it's going to be Kaede Mountain because Kaede means maple. And I know that realistically thinking, the island and the whole, the mountain and everything would be accessible and people would visit it all year round. But it's like the maple season is the most important season of this area, so they just named it after it. You know, do you get that vibe? And I just thought that it sounded nicely with it. So it's like the meaning of it and also kind of the vibes that I get from it, I guess. And the village that is on the base of the mountain is also Kaede village because it technically belongs to the mountain. So I just decided to use the same name for both. And this temple, it's the first time I think that I've ever done a temple like full fake building. I usually use either my house or the museum to make at least a part of the structure of the temple. But this time I went a full-on fake building, and it was also the first time I think, because my memory is not good, that I used this dark toddy and also the imperial fencing. If I've used them before, it's not like something that I usually use. I usually use lighter tones for buildings and fencing and all that. So it was also super fun to do more of a darker building, but it doesn't really look that dark because everything around it is so, natural, fresh, and fun and colorful. So I think it has a nice contrast with everything else. It stands out, and it was definitely something that I wanted for this temple. It is like a major build on this island, so it needed to stand out, right? So I'm really glad with how the temple ended up looking. And I didn't have very solid ideas for my builds at this time, so it was a little bit messy, not in the video per se, but definitely in my head. It was kind of messy figuring out the layout, especially between the transition between the temple and the lookout. I didn't really know what to do there. So this path that you're seeing me build right here, it was like autopilot mode. I just started doing it and didn't really think too much about it. And I think it came out really pretty. And to be honest with you, a lot of areas on this island were kind of done on autopilot because, again, I'm not used to doing islands during fall, and for some of you, the season may be irrelevant, but for me, it isn't. So I just had to turn on autopilot a lot of times and just pretty much do things like I usually do, but in other seasons. But for some reason, it's easier for me to do in other seasons other than fall. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but I really like the process of this island because it literally came out of my heart almost. Like the most original kind of thing that I did. I mean, I took a lot of inspiration from a lot of people to work on this island, especially stuff that I found on Pinterest and in real life stuff, right? This island is heavily inspired by Kyoto's landscapes and all that. But at the same time, it just, for most of the things, although they were inspired on something, I totally built them from scratch and just try to have fun with it, try to figure out as I was working. That's why some areas that I built and some of the speed builds were a little bit messy because I was just figuring things out in the moment, just going with it and having fun with it, and just kind of figuring out the whole aesthetic and theme and everything. But yeah, I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. Let's talk about what's happening in the video, shall we? So, near the temple, we have our first villager house, which belongs to Fauna. And her house is literally right next to the temple, but I didn't want it to feel like it was so close to the temple. So I just used this technique basically for the whole island, to be quite honest with you. I just put forest everywhere, and somehow it looks like it's further away than it actually is. It's a pretty cool trick. If you don't have a lot of space, but you don't want things to look like they're all on top of each other, just try to put some forest, some natural elements, some cliffs, mountains, stuff like that, and it will automatically look bigger and further away. Just, I guess that's kind of perspective. I don't know, but it worked on this island, and I'm actually super glad that I was able to achieve that, because all the builds on this island were pretty big, and the island wasn't as big as my builds would need. The island would need to be bigger for me to fit the builds and give them the space that they needed. So everything's pretty much on top of each other, but because I used a lot of forest surrounding all the areas, it looks further away. I don't know. It just works. And if something works, you roll with it, right? So, fauna, speaking of big things, fauna has the biggest property on the island. I mean, in terms of villager properties, right? And even though it's really big, it's still not like it, because it's big, it's right next to the temple. Whatever, we'll pass that. So I had kind of a hard time figuring out how to fill the space on this area. I'm someone that needs to put stuff on every single tile of the island or it won't look finished. And I have so much people that put like 3 items and it looks perfect. But on this island, I really tried my hardest to leave some space, leave some empty space. And this area was really hard for me because there was so much empty space. But also I didn't want it to look cluttered because I wanted this island to feel peaceful, serene, spiritual at times, like with the with the temple and everything. So I battled a little bit with myself to figure out what I was going to put here. At first I put the clothes drying there, but then I thought, doesn't make sense to have this huge property and have like laundry in front of the house, right? And so I was leaving that little corner empty because I wanted you to be able to see the lookout from here, the mountain lookout. But I ended up giving up on it and just placing the laundry there, kind of hidden away with the trees and everything. It's just, I don't know. I struggled, okay? At this point of me doing this island, I was still figuring out the whole aesthetic and vibe in all that. So I struggled a little bit with some things in general, but I ended up really liking how the house looks. Both the exterior and the interior. And let's talk a little bit about Fauna. So she likes to make candy, like sweets and all that. So she makes mochi and dango at our house. And that's why you have that mochi thingy there. And then you also have dango inside. I just wanted to give her like a hobby / profession job. So she makes her candy at home in her peaceful space, and then she sells it at the store at Kaede Village. That it just literally she just has to climb down the stairs that are basically in front of her house, and her little stories there. If you haven't watched me build the island, and if you don't know about the lore, you won't know about it because there's no sign or anything indicating that that's Fauna's store, other than like the stuff that is on the stall in front, I think. But it makes sense in my head, and I need to justify things in my head most of the time so I can accept them. So, I mean, you're watching this, so you're kind of special because you know extra information about the island that people that don't follow my channel won't know, probably. I don't think they'll make the connection. I'm just filling in some areas here. Most of the forested areas I ended up at some point just not recording and doing them off camera because they're kind of messy. and it's just the same over and over again. So if you've watched it one time, I'm just repeating the same process of filling it with trees wherever I can fit them. Different heights, then wherever I can fit the trees, like the in-game trees, I put not fake trees, but the item trees, and fill the rest with bushes and flowers and all that. And it looks cool, and it helps to create dimension to the areas. We're now working on the interiors of Fauna's house, and I wanted her house to feel more traditional. Her house is like she inherited. Oh my god, I can speak. It was like a family home, and she got it after her relatives died. I'm so sorry, but I can speak. And so our house looks a little bit more traditional, but it's also a little bit modern in some aspects, like the kitchen with that stove, and she also has a TV and that wood burning stove. I think that's what that item's called. And she just has a very chill kitchen where she prepares her candy and maybe watches some TV while she does it. And she can also, just hang out with some friends if they come over. And because this is a house in a big property, I didn't want it to feel like it was a extremely tiny house. So I will be using the glow-in-the-dark stickers to represent, to make windows and doors, so the houses look bigger than they actually are. And I usually do that in most of my islands. It's a very nice trick to, you can just focus on a room and make it look like it has more rooms than this. Like she probably has a bedroom and a bathroom and everything, but you don't have to put them inside the tiny house, this tiny little space that you have to work with. And that's just what I did, right? And our house is a little bit darker with the green walls and dark woods, but I wanted to break it off sometimes with more red tones because, the window has a lot of red tones with the maple trees. And I wanted it to feel a little bit more classy, but still relaxed. And like a younger person or villager is now living there. And it's very basic decor, but I think it looks very nice and chill. And I also dimmed the lights a little bit to make it look cozier, And that's how it ended up looking. I really, really like this house. It's a warm house, I guess. I hope so. So now we're moving on to Kaede Village that I've talked about before. And here we have Shino and Billy's houses. And, I wanted the Kaede Village to be more structured than a Yuka Village that will be like the main village of the island. But I wanted to have this mix of natural and structured, And at first, I started by having a road in front of Shino and Billy's houses. And then on this side that I'm working on right now, there would be some fake buildings and the road would connect to that. But I ended up giving up on that, and I used the stone path as like the main path because I feel like it's more organic. No, it is in fact more organic, but I think it looks way better on this area. And I will also add a train platform because, something that's going to happen in the rest of the island. There's always going to be these train tracks that connect Yuka Village and the rest of the small areas near Yuka village, like Kere village, and then the Ryokan area and the cemetery, things that I'll show in like a few minutes, I guess. Maybe not a few minutes, but you'll see them in a bit. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, the train. So I made the train platform here more structured than other train platforms because of that thing that I wanted to have more structure on this area, but not too much, so structured that it looked like a big village, So I have the villager houses, I have fake buildings, and the train platform, and also the bridge that are more structured, but everything else is pretty much very natural. There's forest, again, of course. And then we have some stone path and a wooden deck underneath the houses. And I mean, I didn't really think like Shino and Billy are related, so that's why they live like on the same deck. It was not supposed to be anything like that. I just thought that it looked prettier being connected, and I mean they can be very good neighbors, very good friends. I don't know. I mean they can be related. It's okay, but I just really like how it looked. I also opted for the wood Zen bridge. I think that's what's called. There's the red bridge and then there's the wood bridge. Similar aesthetic, but different colors. And I mean, this whole area is less fancy than the temple area and all that, and a little bit more simplistic. So I didn't want to have this overwhelming bridge in between the two areas of Kere village. So, just more simple, more natural looking, I guess. And, I added some fake buildings just because I didn't... they're like filler areas. But it ended up lining up with the whole fauna needing a store, because when I did their house, I didn't really know where I would put their store, and I thought of putting it on Yuka village, but I don't know, I didn't think it would make that much sense. And being on Kere village right at the base of the mountain, people visit a lot this area, supposedly, so their business is probably more profitable here. I don't know. That's just my own justification of my choices, I guess. But yeah, I really like how this area turned out. I think it looks exactly like I wanted, which it's really important, I guess. But I mean, it doesn't feel like it's right next to the temple, even though it is right in front of the temple, because of all the forest that I created. Here are the fake buildings with the store that I was talking about. I mean, I feel like because I finished the island and I've toured it at this point, I know exactly what I did. Back then, I wasn't really sure of what I was doing, so I couldn't speak with this much certainty, I guess. But it's just a very simple fake building. I like to use those ornament lamps. I think that's what they're called. They look like paper lanterns, and I think that's really cute, so I usually use them. I learned that, I think it was from Kenoto. So yeah, not original either, but I really like how it looks. And I also didn't know how I would transition the fake buildings area, Kaede village, and the rest of the mountain. I decided to put these stairs here with a tori and just put a bunch of nature and natural elements and not worry too much about it. I thought of putting like a wall or something like that, but I ended up just deciding to put bushes, flowers, nature in general. I think it looks prettier with the waterfalls and everything. And in front of these buildings, there's also going to be more forest. And at the point of doing this area, I didn't know what was going to be like, what was going to be happening in front of this area. I didn't know if it would be blocked off, if it would be just forest. I ended up placing the campsite basically in front of this area. It's a little bit to the side, but the whole area is in front of it. So I'm really glad that I decided to put some forest here, because that really helped to block off an area that didn't have anything interesting happening. It's just if you'll see that I just tried to hide, to the best of my capabilities, the fact that the train goes nowhere because it's a fake train. But I don't know. I'm glad that I how do you say it? I just worked on it. I thought of future me and worked on it right away. You know what I'm saying? I anticipated myself. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure. But I just ended up working on this little corner of the mountain, placing some decor, making sure that this was blocked off and people wouldn't be running there. And then we have the interiors. So first of all, we're working on Shino's interiors, and her house is a little bit clumsy, is a little bit messy, because Shino works, like, she does kimonos, and our house is also our workspace, so it can become pretty messy pretty quickly. And because she's such a pastel baby, I wanted to give her a really pastel-y house, but I didn't want it to feel bland and boring, so I also added this deep blue that you'll be seeing in a lot of houses. I really love how this deep blue looks, especially contrasting with the tatami flooring. I don't know. It's something that I like. So I added it. And she has just a little fun house. She has her little computer. She has a TV. She stays entertained while doing her kimonos. And a very light and breezy house that I think reflects Shino pretty well. And, just I tried to make it look messy, but not too cluttered, I guess, which can be a struggle. But I just really like the blues and the pinks and everything. And I really like these lights. What's it called? Is it the Zen wallpaper or is it the tea room wallpaper? I don't know. I also dimmed the lights and made them pink, so it looks like more girly, I guess. And then we have Billy's house. And for his house, I went with the complete opposite of, like, in terms of aesthetic. He has a pretty dark house, but I wanted to balance out the really dark tones of his house with some colors, I guess. The flooring is lighter, right? And I used the contrast of the lighter tatami and the dark walls with dark wood. Billy looks like an old guy, okay? So I didn't want this house to feel youthful or anything. That's why when I'm trying to do houses that look like they belong to older people, I tend to use darker toned furnitures, because I feel like that's something that they like. older people think that light tones are kind of youthful, I guess, and I feel like they feel youthful. And darker tones look more sober and older, But I also gave them like the light bamboo light, and the chairs also have that kind of fun pattern, I guess. Just trying to break off the really dark tones, with some lighter elements and some, more traditional looking patterns, but lighter and more colorful, I guess. And I think that I was able to reach a pretty good balance. Also, another contrast between this house and Chino's house, sorry, is the fact that his house is very clean and organized. Chino's house was a clutter fest, right? And I just dimmed the light so it looks a little bit more serene and warm. And I don't know, I really like it. I think it looks really pretty and cozy. And after I finished those houses and the whole Kaede mountain and village, we're at the Yuka village. We're working on Yuka village. Oh my god. I decided to have a transport hub on the entrance of the island because the resident services, as you can see here, is very close to the airport, and I was struggling so much to make the resident services architecture to make sense with the rest of the aesthetic that I had going for the island. I'm not gonna lie, I struggle quite a bit with that in other islands as well, because the resident services is so different. It can be so different from, like, I'm going for a lot of traditional buildings, traditional Japanese buildings, and the resident services is everything but that. So I decided to make it as it is the train station. It is the big train station with a big platform in front of it, and it also has a bus stop and everything. Just so, I mean, when everything's finished, you don't really notice how different the resident services are, and I'm so glad for that. But because this is like, there's different regions on the island, I decided to have the train to connect all of them. So it only made sense to have like this main area for transportation. So you can take the train, you can take the bus. There's also going to be a small parking lot, and because people can have cars and still travel by train if that's more convenient. It usually is. And I use the ABDs as like the machines where you buy the tickets and everything, or as ABDs, you decide. I don't know. And it's a lot of placing down pathing and all that. It's a big area. I didn't think it would be such a big area when I was doing it at first, when I was just starting to doing it. But because of the bus stop and everything and the parking lot on the other side, it ended up being a pretty big area, which I'm not complaining about, because the more space that I can fill with stuff, the better, I guess. So yeah, I'm even putting some division between the village and the beaches, because this time I decorated a lot of beaches. I didn't decorate all of them, okay, I'll be honest with you, but I decorated a good amount of beaches. So yeah, I'm happy about it. And what else can I say? I don't know. This is a way more structured village in comparison to Yuka Village. That's why I didn't want Yuka Village to feel like very structured, because then it would probably clash with Yuka Village. I mean, not clash, but you wouldn't be able to tell what's the main village, if it's Yuka Village or if it's Kaeda Village or if it's everything the same. I really wanted to have a break between them, so you would know that you were in two different areas and not it wasn't like an extension of the area that you were before. You know, sometimes it can be a struggle, but you know, here I am working on that parking lot that I was talking about. There's also a road. It's pretty much just a road that circles Yuka Village. Just so you know, it connects the whole, every single part of the village is connected with a road. And there's also going to be an access to Kaeda Village, and I decided to like have an actual break between the two. And on each side of the resident services, I placed this huge sidewalk that looks really weird at this stage, but I will have the Able Sisters on the left and Greta's house / restaurant on the right. And I'm saying / restaurant because it's not really decorated as a house, but it's her house, but it is decorated as a restaurant. You know, I've done that before. Restaurant stores also, Crackle / Spork is going to have a little store instead of a house. Because it's a town, I feel like it makes sense that some of the houses are actual like commercial buildings. And so the Able Sisters is like a store, like any other store, I guess. And Greta's restaurant is like this spot that both visitors, travelers, residents, when they want a hot meal, like a hot traditional meal that feels like home, they go there and Greta will make the meal of their lives. She's like a lady that in my head has traveled, and she has visited a lot of countries, like Asian countries. So, and she loves to cook. So she's kind of a master when it comes to Asian cuisine. And she has like ramen and the more, you know, general meals available. But if you go there and ask for something specific from your childhood, she's probably able to recreate it and you'll have the time of your life. And I really like that concept. I think that's so cute and cozy. I think Greta is so cute. I know people don't often talk about her, but I think she's so adorable. And I'm just continuing to place some plant the partition, that's what's called. On this side, on the right side, on the right bottom corner of the island, there will be a commercial street that is also a tunnel for the train. So something that I struggle with, not only with this island, but pretty much every single island that I build, I always run out of space for custom designs, and I only had space for the horizontal train tracks. So whenever I need to change direction of the train, like make it connect to Kaeda Village, for example, I just make it go inside a tunnel. It's a fake tunnel, of course, but it's it was the way that I found to justify the train, you know, make it make sense. I know this is a game, it doesn't need to be extremely realistic, but I need things to be at least slightly realistic, or I won't be able to handle it. So, for my sake and for the sake of making sense, there will be 3 tunnels around the island. This is one of them, and I felt so smart when I thought, well, I'm just going to make a tunnel. I didn't know what to put up there. I placed the stairs and I was praying for the best. I just kind of placed the stairs and ignored this whole area for a while because I didn't really know what to do up there. So I just placed Crackle's house / convenience store and decorated this beach. I placed a deck and some sea-related items, I guess. I also decided that he likes to make pickles, and that's why there's some pickle jars all around this area. That's just it. I don't think I talked about it when I did the speed build for this area, but now you know. If you noticed all the pickles jars, it's because of that. And of course, in a Japanese inspired island, when you don't know how to fill a tiny space, place a drink machine, a snack machine, vending machines, very popular there. Never can go wrong. Can never go wrong. I don't know how to speak. I've been speaking for quite a long time now, so excuse me if I don't make sense sometimes. But my beaches are always super simple. I never go like all crazy or none of that. I mean, this is the most that I can do. A deck with fish and barrels and stuff. Because I never really know what to put on my beaches. I know some people just extend the rest of the island and just make the beaches as an extension of whatever is happening on the land, I guess. But I'm not like that. If I see a beach, it's a beach. It's not an extension of whatever is happening on the rest of the island. I don't know. So just nautical themed beaches, sorry. And I like to use the stone items because they look like the stone that just more stones, There's the in-game rock. It's just more of that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I make sense. I think you can at least tell what I'm trying to do, right? And I also added a unloading area behind the Able Sisters, so just I could fill in some space. Most of the things that you see on this island are actually filler areas because I wanted things to look big, but I didn't have a lot of ideas for things to go on places. Still ended up with a extremely laggy island. Running around this island is not easy. No. But what can I do, right? Here is the little path that I created between the two villages so they look, they're not the same thing. There are two separate things, but they also don't look super awkward and out of what I must say. I didn't want them to look like the Kera village just popped off of nothing. So I'm just adding some more forest around it and around this path. And I think you can tell that there's a path there. I hope it's not like too hidden. That was not my intention. But just more nature surrounding the train tracks as well. and just making sure that you can't really see Keita Village from Yuka Village or Yuka Village from Keita Village. You know, I mean, if you're standing on that path, of course you can see them both, but when you're in Yuka Village, you can't see. Why am I trying to explain myself? I think you understand what I'm saying. And you know, just more forest. This is why I stopped recording me doing the forests at some point, because it's always the same. Kind of boring to watch, maybe. So let's move on to another beach. This time we have bladder stand on this beach, because when I started this island, I didn't really know if the bladder's tent was going to be visible or blocked off, if I should upgrade it to the full museum and use oh my god, I can speak. Use it on some sort of building like a temple. I didn't know if I was going to have more temples than Kaede Temple and everything. So I placed it on the beach, just like I do with everything. And because if I ended up not upgrading it or anything, it looks good on the beach, you know? And I'm just using the same technique that I use on Toshinaka. It's just a research/fishing area. There's boats, there's fishing stuff, there's barrels, more stones. It's very natural decor, and some rope fencing because it's never enough. And you know, I never stress too much about my beaches. Some people really go all in. I wish I had that power, just not in me, you know. So I decorated very natural. I always do very natural decor on my beaches. And on the other side of Bladder Stand, that area turned out to be blocked off, and it was a total accident. It just happened, but it was not an interesting area to see, so I left it blocked off. It's more of just for scenery purposes kind of thing, but it's like the more personal side. It's where he has more of his stuff, you know. On the right side is more like there's fishermen or something, there's a dock and everything. On the left side, it's supposed to be more of Bladder's research / the dining area / whatever he wants to do on that area. So you don't need to access that area either, okay? It's sort of private area, even though it's very public. I gave him a boat because maybe he likes to study the marine life. I mean, why else would he have his tent on the beach right next to the sea, right? I think he studies the sea, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, I think he prefers to study the sea and not study the bugs, right? He doesn't like bugs, my man. But just a bunch of stuff, random stuff. At some point, you just start putting stuff, and only when the little message appears that you can put more stuff is then when you stop. So here we have Greta's restaurant. She used to have a very fancy restaurant. Maybe it was like a family business or something, but she has gotten older, and the demands of her customers have changed a little bit from like as time went on. So she has like these regular sitting areas with tables and chairs, but there's also this booth where people can just eat and leave, because a lot of travelers don't have time to like sit down and have a full meal, so they just sit down and eat as fast as they can. Maybe they're almost like losing the train, or they need to catch the train, and they're running out of time. That sort of vibe, you know. So it become less fancy than it used to be in its prime time, but I think it's still very cozy and it has that traditional restaurant vibe. I also opted for the red lanterns because they look more traditional, and I also really like the contrast with the green pillows on the chairs, and the dim light looks really, really nice in my opinion. I don't think I left it this dark. I think I put the lights a little bit lighter at the end, but whatever. Here we have Crackle's convenience store. This is the coldest looking build or interior of this island. It doesn't have a lot of personality because it's just a convenience store, right? It is his job. It's not his dream. His dream was to make pickles. Do you remember that? I talked about it a few minutes ago. He wanted to make pickles, but pickles don't really pay the bills. Maybe his pickles aren't that great. So he has to have this convenience store. And this is not my first convenience store. I did one in Toshinaka and also on HHP sometimes. So this is just one more, but I think it's very Japanese, like having these convenience stores. And since I have a few that are fake buildings, I mean, you can see the interior of one of them, right? Just very simple, not too cluttered. You can actually walk around pretty easily, I think. I think that I wanted to put a few more things on the walls, but I totally forgot about it. So this is how it ended up looking in the final DA. And I put the cold light. So yeah, it looks colder, not very personal or anything. It's just a job, you know, kind of situation. And now we have the rest of Yuka village, pretty much. So behind the resident services, there's a neighborhood where Genji, Ward Jr., Marcel, and Kabuki live. This is the area with the biggest, with more villager houses altogether. I can't think of the word. I'm so sorry, but you get it. On the lower level, we have Genji and Ward Jr.'s houses, and because this is a bigger town but still small, I tried to give them some outdoor space, but it's super tiny. You know, there's not a lot of outdoor space, but they still have like a little deck with a few things. So Genji likes to do pottery and stuff like that. So he has some of his work because he likes to work outdoors. And Ward Jr. just has this tiny little deck where he has his laundry machine and all that. It's pretty much just his laundry machine. Let's be realistic. But I had this little, space in between the house and the stairs. Decided to give him a little deck because why not? And I also needed to have access to the ryokan from Yuka village. So there's that narrow path between Genji's house and what's going to be the commercial street on that fake tunnel. It's just, I hope people figure out that they're supposed to go there. Like there's more island when you cross that path. I think it's a you notice that path. It's not something that's hidden away or something. I made sure that it has a tori and the no, that's not pagodas. What are they called? The pergolas. It's also with a P. So it stands out a little bit. And I also included this fake building because, again, filler. I didn't know what to put there. And I some of the sidewalks, like little corners and stuff like that, I placed some trash cans and some trash bags, just trying to fill the space, but also not block the way too much, because I still want people to be able to walk around the island easy enough, even though it's very laggy and it becomes a little hard with all the lag. But let's not talk about that. Here's Ward Junior's little deck. I really like how the vertical fencing looks in front of the houses. I don't know, little details like that just warm my heart, and I like to include them because I think it looks cute. But here I also was forgetting to add some crosswalks sometimes, so made sure I had some, and just very small townish kind of decor. There's another loading park, I don't know, space for trucks to unload behind the convenience store, because I thought that made the most sense. And the parking lot is right next to it. I placed some natural elements because I felt like I guess that I was placing trees, but I also wanted some bushes and flowers on this area, bring some of the nature into the town. And I think it looks really pretty. I didn't know what was going to be happening on this area, so I left it kind of open when I worked on this area, because I still didn't know how big the ryokan and onsen area were going to turn out, and I didn't know if I was going to have an additional build. Oh, they were mad that I think I referenced that on the speed build, the singular speed builds for this area. Whatever. Here I'm working on Kabuki's and Marcel's area. They live together, and they're supposed to live at the Marcel's, and Kabuki's house is a theater where they perform for their friends and, anyone who wants to watch them, pretty much. So they have a little deck, and next to the houses they have a little garden where they plant their produce, just have a chill time. It's kind of like their hobby guys. They have this theater thing that is hobby / their job, because that's what they do. They perform for the other residents and their friends and everything. They also have this garden. Maybe they share their produce or they sell their produce. I'm not really sure. They do what they want with their stuff. And I just added very simple stuff all around it, just trying to make it look like it is lived in, but not too messy. And I think they just have a chill, good time on this area. More of the vertical vertical board fence, because I really like it. And, very normal stuff for a garden. And when I'm finished, this area has a pretty nice view as well, which is always a plus, right? And I don't know, I think maybe it can be weird having that aesthetic on a town, on a level above, But I don't know, I just thought it looked so cool to have that, so I included it. And I was starting to work on that commercial street that I've been talking about for quite a while now, but went back and added random stuff to the island. So, okay, here I am working on the commercial street. This was also kind of the answer to my desperation. I didn't really know what to put here, so I just started putting a bunch of fake buildings and just kind of having fun with it, having fun with different items, seeing how could I achieve different heights and different aesthetics for different buildings. Kind of messy, but also make it look like really lived in, and like there's life in this area. The villagers won't be able to walk around this area, unfortunately, because there's a lot of scooching areas, areas that you have to scooch to get through, because everything's so narrow on this area. Because I tried to add so many things. I tried to add fake restaurants and trees to hide some imperfections, and also lights, and so many different kinds of items like the stoneware kitchens, and it's just a lot. I just kept putting stuff and thinking, when will this end? I didn't know if I was going to have this sort of street all the way to the back. I didn't know when I was going to end it. I ended up not putting it all the way to the back. There's a certain part there where there's a break from the buildings. It's kind of a patio or something. And I think it's just after these buildings. Actually, these are like the last few buildings. I don't know. I can't remember. I can't tell you for sure. I also added a little balcony here that you probably won't be able to see, and it's only creating more lag. But it's the little details, Trying to convince myself that I'm right here. But I started and I kept going because no one was there to stop me. No one was there to tell me that was enough. So I just kept going. But I actually really like this little corner of the island that serves no purpose other than being a filler and basically being the access to the tiniest beach ever that didn't need to be that tiny, but I didn't want to decorate the rest of the beach. So I only ended up decorating that little corner there. It's a really cute beach, okay? I don't like decorating beaches, and I had already decorated so many beaches. I thought it was okay to skip that beach. I mean, it's just the side of that street. I don't know if it. I didn't think it was worth it. The effort, I guess. I also didn't know how to finish this area, so I just put more fake buildings on a different direction. I don't know. I was kind of desperate at this point. I just wanted to have this area done, I guess. I added even more stuff because I didn't think that I have enough flag, so I kept adding stuff. I'm kidding, but also not. I'm really impressed by people that can make islands that don't have lag, because how do you do it? I still haven't managed to figure out how to do it. Even the islands that I think, or the areas that I think are, there's not a lot going on, the simple area, they still lag. I don't know what I'm doing. But here is the tiny beach that I blocked off with some stone items. I also like to use those ponds. I mean, the maple pond isn't the best because of the shade of the stone itself, but I like to use the stone ponds. I guess you get it. Because they look like they're like rocks with like some water, maybe from the beach, maybe it rained. I just think it looks cute. Okay, so for interiors on Yuka Village, I tried to make the interiors on Yuka Village to be more modern, contemporary than on the mountain and everything. But Genji's house ended up being the only one that is less traditional than the others. So I was also able to put so many different rooms inside of his house. I mean, because he lives on the bigger town, I thought it was okay for him to have a small apartment. Houses on bigger areas tend to be bigger, and houses on like cities and everything, bigger towns, tend to be smaller, right? So I made his house smaller. I really wanted to have this kotatsu because in my head they make the whole house feel so much warmer, but I wasn't able to, and I ended up realizing it and accepting my fate. Took me a while, but I will get there, okay? I promise. But I was actually able to fit a kitchen, a living room, a bedroom, and a bathroom in these tiny interiors, which, I mean, I know some people can do it and do it all the time, but I usually struggle with that. This time, kinda was able to nail it. I actually really liked being able to do kind of a different aesthetic from the other houses that were more traditional, because they all end up looking very similar, and this one feels really different in comparison to the other ones. So yeah, I'm really happy that I got to work on a slightly different aesthetic, more modern, more contemporary, I guess. But I still think that it looks very cozy and very pretty. I broke off the very light tones with some dark greens and, changed the lights a little bit. I always like to give some mood, with the lights. And I also added some sound effects. Sometimes I forget about it, but I didn't hear. And then we have Ward Jr.'s house, and this one was probably my favorite house of all the houses that I created on this island. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the warm tone of the wood or the colors that I used. I just think it looks so cozy, so cute. I don't know. I just really like it. That's all I can say. I really like it. It feels warm. It feels cozy, and it was so easy for me to come up with this layout and everything. For some of the houses, I really struggled with the layout. For this one, I just did it, and it felt right all the way through. And yeah, let me know what's your favorite interior, I guess, in the comments. Do you like the more traditional houses? Do you like Genji's house because it's a little bit different from the others? I don't know. I also really like the plants that I placed. I like to put plants to break off sometimes the mood, make it look fresh, I guess. I also use the stacked bags in some of the houses. They're supposed to look like blankets, It was my intention with that. I don't know if people will be able to tell, but I just want the houses to feel warm and cozy because it's November. The day is set in November. So the houses need to be warm inside, right? Here we have Marcel's house that is also Kabuki's. So, in my opinion, they are entertainers through and through. So, I gave them this big main floor or big main room of the house with a lot of space to have like people visit them, hanging out with friends all around their kotatsu. And just have a good time, in between rehearsing for the theater and taking care of their garden and everything. They can just relax and chill with their friends on their very cozy and warm house. I placed a bunch of seating options so they can, get a bunch of people to gather around the table and just have a fun time with some music and maybe play some games, some card games. I don't know. I'm not there, unfortunately. So I don't really know what they're doing. But I don't know. I really like that big window. It looks so cool. And it ended up making sense because when I decorated this interior, I didn't know what would be behind their house, I guess. But there's a lot of nature there, so I guess that it makes sense to have the trees there with the big window because I like things to be realistic. I don't know if you could tell by now, but I do. It's true. I like things to look realistic and like to make the interiors make sense with the exteriors. So yeah, again, dim the lights to make it look cozier. And then we have Kabuki's house/theater. This is a very simple build. I had to use photos of real theaters for reference, and I think I was able to nail it at least a little bit. I'm not sure. I've never been to one of these theaters, so excuse me if it's not very realistic. I tried my best. I used a lot of reds because that was the predominant color that I found. And, they just do their thing there. And now we have the ryokan area and onsen. It is behind Yuka village on the other side of this river that I'm, carving here. Carving, is that the term? That narrow path that I showed before leads into this area, and I wanted it to feel like it was far away from Yuka village. I wanted it to be isolated. I didn't want it to look busy or anything. I wanted this place to be very chill, peaceful, serene, all that good jazz. So I placed 2 flights of stairs, a lot of forest between the ryokan and the access into Yuka village. And I also struggled a little bit to hide the cliff. I just wish we could smooth out the cliffs so they look like mountains. Why is it so hard to do? I don't know. Why isn't that an option? I've always questioned that. I've always wanted that. Sometimes the cliffs don't look good, okay? And I would like to make it look smooth, like a mountain. But okay, I digress. So I wanted this area to feel a little fancier, but still very natural, very chill, with a lot of water features. That was something that I knew for sure that I wanted because of the ryokan. And so I added some waterfalls to the access to the ryokan, and also next to the onsen itself there will be a lot of waterfalls. I think they look very pretty. I struggled a little bit because I'm using fake water all around the ryokan. It is surrounded by fake water, basically. And I had a really hard time ignoring the fact that it didn't blend with the the waterfalls, but it looks so pretty that I think it's okay. You know, no one complained either, so I think we're good. And the ryokan is actually like it occupies a big area, and I wasn't trying to limit myself in terms of space needed for this build. I thought this was going to be like the last build, sorry, of the island. It ended up not being, uh, because it ended up not being that big. I thought it would take more space, but I ended up being wrong, and it mostly because I wanted to have forest behind the building, so it didn't look like it was on the edge of a cliff. But I didn't also have a lot of space in front, so it is still a big space. It's just not as big as I originally thought it would be. You know what I mean? And there's this big deck with that you can, so you don't have to walk on water, right? You can walk around the water, see the koi fish on this little part. Maybe because at first I thought of putting koi fish on this area, but then I was like, oh my god, what if they swim right into the waterfalls? So maybe there's a division between now, underneath the deck, so the koi fish stay on this little part here. I don't know why am I trying to make sense of something that is fake. They can't swim. Even if they could, if they're not supposed to, they're not going to swim there. So I have this problem, and it's totally a me problem. But yeah, I'm just adding some trees and some bushes, nature, etc. Just trying to hide the ocean, but you can also kind of see it from the onsen area. I don't know. It looks good. I think it looks good. And I don't know. I'm just putting stuff. This is what I mean when I say that it's kind of useless having this part on the video. I could take it off, but at this point, I'm sorry, I'm keeping it. Okay, so I'm working on the onsen. I mean, not exactly. I'm starting to put some mountain cliff around it. I wanted this area to look secluded and private, even though these are technically public baths. I still feel like it's important to have a little privacy, so that's why I put it on a lower level. And the interiors, I'm not going to show them in this video because I didn't record them, but the room on the left inside of the ryokan is like a public bathroom where people get ready to come to the onsen itself. They take a shower, they get all cleaned up, and then they get here. And I put it on that room so it would have easy access to the onsen. So, I'm trying to make things make sense and also make it not look like it's there for everyone to see. I don't know. I just think that it would feel more comfortable if the onsen area was a little bit more private, I guess. And I just surrounded it with, guess what? Forest and nature. Yes, I did. I didn't decorate it too much. I wanted you to be able to walk around easily, but still added a few things just so it looks like people actually come here and it's not abandoned, right? No one wants that for a business. And just some, I also added most of the island has red and orange flowers or white flowers, but some areas also have purple flowers. This is one of the areas with purple flowers. I think they look so pretty. They're like contrasting with the rest, and I think it makes the area look a little bit more special because they're not everywhere. So it's like, there's something else here. I don't know. But yeah, just added some fencing, made sure that the whole area was blocked off so you wouldn't wander around the forested area or anything like that. Even if the things, certain areas don't look blocked off, I still block them off. Whenever I don't want you to see something, I block them off. Even if you think it's not blocked off, yes, it is. I did it. And I actually really like to secretly block off areas. Sometimes it gets annoying because I myself don't realize that it's blocked off and I think I can walk through it and I can't. But I have this thing that I don't want you to see the ugly bits. If you're visiting, you're only visiting the pretty things. Even though you can see me build the thing and know that there's an area that doesn't look as good, but when you visit the final DA, you won't remember it, hopefully. At least, I hope so, right? And then I decorated around the train tracks, and I was completely forgetting about the train platform that would lead people that took the train. They would have a train platform here to access the ryokan in onsen, especially the ryokan in onsen. I guess that's like a major attraction for tourists, and I wasn't including the train platform. I mean, I don't know. It was a long day, every single part that you're seeing here, they were hours of work. Some days I worked for more than 8 hours on each area. Yeah. So even if the video is like 10 minutes long, the build didn't take me 10 minutes at all. I'm just really good at making things small and accessible. Sometimes I look back at my builds and I think, oh, that's so easy. It's so easy. It's so fast. I myself even forget how hard it can be, right? So if you ever see someone, like if you ever watch a speed build and think, oh my God, this person can do it like first time, no errors, they just nail it right away. They probably didn't. You're seeing the best version of the build. You're not seeing the ugly bits because people usually hide the ugly and boring and not so great bits and mostly the struggles. And sometimes I even leave some of my struggles on the video because it wouldn't make sense, because then I change things but don't change them all the way. So suddenly you would have something that looked like came out of nothing. Whatever. We're on a new area here. An area that I didn't know that was going to exist. And it is a cemetery where Coco lives. And I also included the Nook's Granny because I didn't know where to put it. And at first I thought of, putting it somewhere that would be blocked off and not think about it. But I ended up not having any space for that. The beaches that I left blocked off, they were very narrow. The Nook's Granny didn't fit there. And it is a great filler for this area. So win-win-win situation, right? and I didn't do much around it. It's just there with a few decors, you know. Um, and I decided to make the cemetery kind of abandoned looking because it's an area that people don't really visit that much. It's kind of hidden away, the access to this area. And, Coco lives here precisely because people don't come here, you know? She likes to have her space, her peace. I mean, you can't put a price on that. So she takes care and preserves the memory of the ones that have been buried here. And I mean, Coco looks like a gyride, and gyrides are inspired. I mean, I mentioned this on the singular speed build, but I'm mentioning it again just in case you haven't watched it. So gyrides are inspired by Haniwa. They are like these terracotta clay figures that are used in funerary rituals. They were used, sorry, in funerary rituals during the Kofun period in Japan. So I thought it would only make sense that Coco lived here, right? And she's going to have a few stalls in front and next to her house where she sells little figurines that are like spiritual figurines for good fortune and everything. And when I was doing this area, I put the snake figurine because I thought it looked cool. And then I learned that 2025 is the year of the snake, you know? So I guess that hopefully it will bring us good fortune, good luck. And the year, I put it there. Yeah, you can see it from here. See the little snake? I think it's so cute. And hopefully it brings us some luck for the new year, right? And I just added some, candles and flowers, stuff that Coco places near the tombstone, I guess. And I also decorated the secret beach that I didn't really realize was there, to be quite honest with you. I thought the secret beach was going to be behind the temple, and I guess it kinda is, or at least behind the forest near the temple. But since it is also accessible from Coco's house, I just decided to decorate it. It is a very simple beach, just like the other ones. I'm just surrounding her house with more forest, of course. And, she really likes to drink tea. So I placed a little table with tea and just very simple decor on the beach. And our interior will also reflect her love for tea. We're just still seeing me putting a forest near her house and trying to hide the fact that the cliffs are so vertical. I don't know. Why can't we smooth out the cliffs? It's so annoying, but whatever, may as well just accept it and not question it too much. Maybe, hopefully, in the next title we get, they will think of it and maybe have the option to smooth out the cliffs, right? I sure hope they do. It would have helped me so much in so many situations. But yeah, this little forest also hides the fact that the onsen is right next to our house. I wanted it to look secluded, and then it's right next to a house. Odd. But here we have the secret beach again with the stones. when I see that something works, I just go with it. You can't stop me. Um, Here is a little table where she drinks tea, and I just wanted it to be a little peaceful area, very pretty, nothing major going on. She just likes to live at peace. And I mean, I think that's very relatable. I wish I could just live in peace, you know? And I opted for some bamboo because I wanted to have a bamboo forest on this island that I wasn't able to fit. So here's a little homage, if you may, to that idea that never saw the life of day, right? And I'm finishing off with some fencing so people don't jump on the water. I also added some fencing to this side in front of the Nook's Granny because it was looking dangerously unprotected. And of course I put some custom designs underneath so it looked more realistic. I don't know. And I finished this side of Yuka village that I think you can remember that I said that I didn't really know what I was going to put here when I first worked on this area. So I decided to put the train platform on this side and some more fake buildings. Again, not too big because I didn't want the village to feel like a big city or anything. Just small buildings with some vending machines because they are a great way to fill in some space, more trees, and I mean, if you're wondering why I'm using these tiny trees everywhere, I ran out of big trees, so I had to use the small trees. At some point, I was struggling with the trees and the flowers and the bushes, but we got through it. And another tunnel, of course, and then I had to hide the tunnel, like how weird it looks because it doesn't really touch the cliff, the castle gate. So I decided to put a slightly taller building here, and I also blocked off that end of the path up there that leads to the entrance of the temple, so you wouldn't see this fake building from up there. It wouldn't make sense at all. So I blocked it off. I'm sorry. If you're wondering why that's blocked off, that's why. And added some more fence so no one will accidentally just go into the train tracks, Safety first, obviously. And I'm decorating this sidewalk, and I will add some forest to that area as well. And I also decorated this side of the train tracks a little bit. I won't show you how I did the forest on the rest of the mountain or anything, because it's always the same thing. But I decided to add the little train tracks decor, I guess. And I hope people will come here and find their way to the cemetery. Because it's so hidden away, I'm afraid that people won't see it. I sure hope they do. And I added more fence just to, finish off Yuka village. And this bicycle was also giving me a little hard time. Do you ever feel like bicycles give you a hard time? Then you can never place them the right way for some reason. And I'm here working on the last villager interior. This is Coco's house. And at first I wanted to give her, I wanted to make her interior look like a shrine, because it would make sense on a cemetery, I think. But then I was like, she needs a place to live, okay? My girl needs a place to live. And since she likes tea, I decided to give her a little kitchen and living area. I don't know, just like a kitchen with a sitting area where she can enjoy her tea. If it's a good day outside, she can go to the beach and enjoy her tea there. Or if it's like colder or at night, she can come inside and enjoy it just as much, right? And again, with pretty much the same tones that I've used for other villager houses. I also gave her a little shoji door that she can access the secret beach very easily from that door. She just has to walk a little bit on the forest. I struggled with the layout of this house. I think you can tell by the times I moved stuff around, but I ended up really liking how it all turned out in the end, and I think it looks very nice and peaceful, just like she would want. Sorry. And I also extended a little bit the wood floor, so she wouldn't have tatami flooring right in front of the door that leads outside. I also struggled a little bit with the wood floor, because of the kotatsu and the dimensions of everything. But I think it looks really nice in the end, and I just dimmed the lights like usual, and I think it looks pretty cozy, comfy, and I think she would like it. And then we have the part that I didn't share in a singular bit bill, let's say. And this is the campsite area. So this is in front of Kaede Village. So I'm just figuring out the layout of the river here. I also added a fake bridge. It didn't necessarily have to be a fake bridge, but I wanted it to come right from the train tracks, and if it was like an in-game bridge, it would mess up the train tracks. It would be a whole thing, and I didn't want to deal with it. So I made a fake bridge, and it's totally acceptable, I think. And the river was looking way too straight, so I needed to give him some curve on both sides, so it looked more organic and like a river, I guess. I added this mountain because I didn't really know how to finish the train tracks. I think I could have finished them like, okay, it ends here, but I decided to make a mountain because it would also help me to block off the side of the beach that I wasn't really interested in having open. So it's like the train goes inside this mountain, and where does it go? I don't know. Goes somewhere, who knows? It doesn't have to make sense. Everything has to make sense in my head, but if I can explain it, then well, it's a game, but I'm just, this is mostly a scenery kind of deal. You won't be able to climb up there or anything. It will be more in the background. I also added the train here that, I ended up not needing to block any other part of the train tracks, but this part, it would have to be blocked off, so I blocked it off. And just a train. I followed what other people did, and nothing too special. I mean, it is already really special that I didn't forget about the campsite. So there you go. A very simple decoration for this area as well. I wanted to kind of have the same vibe as Kaede Village. This is more natural than Kaede Village, right? Because it's a campsite in front of the beach. And very nice. Really pretty. But I didn't do too much, and that's why I also thought that it wouldn't be that big of a deal if I didn't have the speed build for this area, because it's such a simple area. I think anyone can recreate it with the right items. And so yeah, but since I'm doing like the full process in one video, might as well just include this as well, right? I added a vending machine because, it can come in handy on a campsite. And some log stakes and very basic decor. Oh, something neat that I did for this area, I added purple and blue flowers. There are no blue flowers anywhere else on the island, so that's a little special right there. I know it's nothing major, but I had these blue flowers and I didn't know where they would work. And while I was working on this area, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to use them. I'm not going to waste these pretty blue flowers. And the beach is very simple and just like the other beaches pretty much. There's a little deck where there's going to be some boats right next to Captain's boat. I also decorated the dock, which is not something that I don't always do. This time I decorated it with the same type of items that I decorated the rest of the island, to be completely honest with you. I made this little path with the stepping stones and some weeds. And it's okay if you don't follow the path, but at least there's a path. And I put stuff randomly. To be honest, I didn't really have a plan for this island. I just started to put stuff and filling it with whatever felt right. And I wish we could put bushes on the beaches. I put some of those edge standees, but it's not the same, right? They're great to block off areas though, so that's really great. But I just added a bunch of bushes and flowers on the edges. The cliffs are also very nothing major going on. I used some of the wild hardwood benches. I think that's what they're called. They look natural. They look pretty. And that area next to that deck where there's going to be a few boats, that's a little busier than the rest of the beach. I also added some stuff there because it was looking kind of bare. I don't even know if you can see that from any point. It becomes a matter of, am I just adding more lag to the island for no reason? But again, no one was there to stop me, so I didn't stop. Oh, I also decorated this side and the peninsula because you can kind of see it. You can't access it. It's just for scenery purposes, but I didn't like the idea of you being able to look at this beach and not having anything on it. So let's pretend that there's something happening here. And I just did the same stuff again. I'm sorry, I used a different kind of fencing, but it's pretty much the same on this side as well. I just wanted it to look a little bit prettier and not like I forgot about it, right? So you can look at pretty things, can't really access them. Is that annoying? Probably for some people, like they can see it but they can't touch it. I don't know. But yeah, very simple. Same technique with the stepping stones and the weeds. I think that it gives a very natural way of saying there's a path here. So follow it maybe if you want to. If not, it's also okay. I just kept adding stuff I guess this is where I start going all in with the no, it's not here. Sorry. There's a moment where I just start putting stuff and I never stop. It seems like. I think it's here because I'm putting a bunch of rocks. But oh, it's here. I'm decorating the deck. And this area looks very messy and busy. I was basically like going through my storage and putting a bunch of stuff that I had there because it's the end of the island. I'm not going to use the items anywhere else, so I might as well just put a bunch of stuff here, you know, construction stuff, barrels, whatever fits. I placed it, right? And I don't know. Is it weird that I'm blocking off Captain's way? Maybe, but we don't talk about Captain. He's not in the DA, so it's okay. No one will notice it. And here we have, maybe this area belongs to Captain. It's like it's the storage of stuff that it is, and he has nowhere to put it. I don't know. He likes boats, he likes food, so yeah, there's not much else that I'm going to do except that I'm going to add a little picnic area that is supposed to belong to the campsite. It's like an extension of the campsite. It's just a table with some seating options and some food, because this little corner was looking so bare in comparison to the other side. So I decided to also add more stuff to this area and never stop adding stuff for some reason. But yeah, we're reaching the end of the speed build, and I hope you enjoyed this island as much as I did, because I really enjoyed this island. I'm really happy that I made it, and I'm really happy that I'm finishing the year like just looking back and looking at the whole process again. It's really fun. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope if you've been following the process from the beginning, I hope you enjoyed it. If you for some reason want to watch the parts, here's a playlist and the final island tour so you can see it all like finished. I don't know. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. And next time will be next year. Wow. Okay. Bye.